again, and thanks for joining us here with Washington State Parks. My name is Alyssa, and I'd like to welcome you back to the third and final video in our three-part mini-series as we explore the eruptive process of Mount St. Helens. And of course, I'd like to reintroduce you one final time to our helpers today. We have park visitor Leah.
This is gonna be fun.
And we've got Mount St. Helens. In the last video, part 2, we learned all about the 1980 eruption of Mount St. Helens. We created a series of dance moves to help us remember the events that unfolded that day. Let's go ahead and recap to help you remember. That eruption involved earthquake, landslide, lahar, pyroclastic flow, and a whole bunch of ash. Well, I'd like to invite you to join us today for the third part in our three-part mini-series as we explore the transformation across the landscape after the eruption. All right, here we go. Well, the weeks and months following the eruption, the scientific community took stock of what had just happened. Everybody was in a state of shock because the world around them appeared almost unrecognizable, barren, lifeless. The old-growth forest they all adored, rich, vibrant, and green, was now completely toppled over and covered in gray. The trails and viewpoints were gone. Spirit Lake was buried under trees, rocks, and ash. There was almost no evidence that the summer camps, resorts, lodges, fishing spots, and waterfalls ever truly existed. The beautiful old-growth forest was gone, and the vegetation vanquished. Soon enough, everybody wondered, what happened to the animals? Those that lived on the land, under the soil, in the lakes and the rivers, up in the sky? Did any of them survive? What about you? What do you think? Did any of the animals make it? And if they did, how on earth did they survive? Excitement! Soon enough, life was discovered in pockets across the ravaged landscape. Scientists pieced together a remarkable story of endurance and persistence, as certain species paved the way for a living legacy within this incredible living laboratory. But I bet you're wondering, how? The time of year in which the mountain erupted played a big factor in what survived. The season? Spring, which meant there was snow at high elevations, creating an insulating layer. There was ice over the frozen ponds, as well as ridge lines of protection up on the mountain. When the scientists finally arrived, on foot and via helicopter, they scanned the horizon, looking everywhere for signs of life. They were really surprised to discover dark pockets of fresh soil all across the fields of lava rock that they called the pumice plain. What did that soil come from? Well, let's put a dance move to demonstrate what the scientists did. Here we go. They scanned the landscape, looking for signs of life anywhere. Now, it's your turn to give it a try. What is this, you're wondering? Well, this little fella here, he's what we call a pocket gopher or a burrowing rodent. And this little friend, well, it was responsible for all those mounds of soil across the pumice plain. Well, how did they get there? Well, it turns out, in the springtime, when he was waking up from his long winter nap, he was digging and excavating up to the surface. And from down below, he brought up with him scat, soil, seeds, and insects. And all of that was fresh nutrients for growth on the surface. Let's go ahead and put a dance move to demonstrate what little Mr. Pocket Gopher did. Here we go. Remember, the pocket gopher was digging, digging, digging to see above the surface. Once again, little pocket gopher was digging, digging, digging all around to see what he could see. All right, now it's your turn to give it a try. Well, after little Mr. Pocket Gopher used his green thumbs to help plant across the landscape, the first plant to come back up, among the first I should say, was the Lupine Flower. This incredible plant is what we call nitrogen fixing. It pumps nutrients into the inhospitable environment, making it livable for all the other critters. Well, let's put a dance move to the incredible, life-bringing Lupine Flower. Here we go. Now remember, the lupine flower pumped nutrients down into the soil. Once again, the lupine flower pumped nitrogen down beneath the crust. All right, now it's your turn to give it a try. Wow, get a load of that. That belongs to the elk, a very large plant eater or herbivore that came back to the land after the eruption. And what were they doing here? Turns out they were hungry, and their favorite plant just so happens to be the lupine flower. Well, when they returned, they ate the flower, they digested the flower, and the next natural process, well, they go to the bathroom. And everywhere they went to the bathroom, these little pellets or pockets of compost were left across the landscape. That helped to rejuvenate the soil. Well, in addition to eating and going to the bathroom, these really heavy, large animals squashed down the tephra or crusty layer of ash. Their big, huge hoofs broke through that surface and left impressions in the soil. Rainwater collected into it, and amphibians actually used that to hop across the landscape from one pocket of safety to another, all the way to fresh water. Let's go ahead and put a dance move to the elk. Here we go. The elk and their big, huge bodies walked across the landscape. One more time. These elk and their big, huge bodies walked across the landscape. All right, now it's your turn to give it a try. Remarkably, just a few months after the eruption, islands of vegetation took root across the ravaged landscape. Species like pearly everlasting, lupine, and fireweed were among those seen. These clusters of plants created small habitats for the insects and animals to come and use, and soon enough, trees joined as well. One of the first seen was the alder tree, a very short-lived and fast-growing species that really accelerates in disturbed sites. I don't know about you, but I think I'd call a volcanic eruption a big disturbance. Let's go ahead and put a dance move to the alder tree. Here we go. From a small seed it grew, growing tall for the birds to land on. Once again. From a small seed it grew, growing tall in the breeze. All right, now it's your turn to give it a try. Within no time, birds like the woodpecker arrived on scene, flying in from nearby. They were excavating the standing dead trees that we call snags, helping to decompose and break those down even faster, in addition to getting a tasty snack. Let's go ahead and put a dance move to our friend the woodpecker. Whew. Here we go. Now woodpeckers, talons ready, attach to the tree and get ready to peck at the yummy bark. Here we go. Peck, 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 peck. Let's go one more time. Peck, 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 peck. Now it's your turn to give it a try. Wow, we learned a lot today. Let's go ahead and string all of our dance moves together. Here we go. First, the scientists arrived on scene to survey the land looking for life. Then, the pocket gophers were digging up, bringing fresh soil to the surface. Then you had the lupine flowers pumping nutrients down beneath the ash layer through their roots. Then, you had the large elk walking around across the landscape, helping to spread fresh nutrients. Then, you had the alder tree, growing nice and tall, helping to diversify the habitat. And lastly, birds like the woodpeckers, peck, 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 helping to break down the trees. All right, now it's your turn to give it a try. I hope that through this dance you have a better understanding of what happened after the mountain erupted, as we learned about the transformation across the landscape. As the years pass by, life continues to flourish here at Mount St. Helens. In fact, we can't wait to see what the next chapter has in store. A huge thank you for each and every one of you for joining us here today for our third and final video in our 3-part mini-series as we explore the eruptive process of Mount St. Helens. We have one final challenge for all of our viewers today. Let's go ahead and string all of our dance moves together from all 3 films. That's 15 dance moves. All right, here we go. A huge thank you for joining us for this educational series.
We hope you had fun and learned a lot.
Until next time. All right, we're done. Okay, that's a wrap. Wow, okay. I'm going home now. Bye.